What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, volleyball fans all around the world, wherever you're watching from? Welcome to the 9x9 Volleyball Show. 81 square meters of the best volleyball coverage west of the Atlantic Ocean. My name's Rob St. Clair. That's Everett DeLorme. Welcome to episode 5. Hop in the chat. Let us know what's up. Let us know where you're watching from. Some of you have come to hear me go on a rant this episode. I promise we'll get to that.
It's going to be should be a good
It'll
one.
be a good one.
I'm excited.
I think Everett is more often the ranting one than I am, but when I really get going, we might be here a while. So look forward to that. Everett, what's up, dude?
Not too much. Looks like we already got some people in the chat board. Vibranium Steelix, what's up? How's it going? I heard Ronnie was going to be taking over our chat board today too. He was talking in the Discord. He was talking a lot of smack about how Cuba is the team of the future. I mean, we can go all day about that.
He's probably been saying that since 2010. Yeah, hop in the YouTube live chat. Let us know where you're watching from or whatever. Ask us questions. I'll be looking at it throughout the show.
I have to say, I'm quite excited to be on the other side of the ranting today. Although that being said, you know me, and I do feel that the topic at hand, the ranting, you might just pull me in. You know, you might, because maybe I won't necessarily be ranting about along the same lines as you are, but I feel like I'll have some more to add on to it.
Yes, you will, and I'm excited to get into that. But before we get into that, let us know. Oh yeah, get in the chat. Also, if you're listening on the audio version, which is an option now, we're on Spotify, like all the normal podcast places. Just look up the 9x9. Hop in the Volleyball Source Discord, and then catch the show live on Tuesdays at 7:30 Eastern. If you want to watch us on video and hop in the chat live. So before we get to the rant, let's talk about a couple actual volleyball things that happened. First and very most notably, this came out of absolutely nowhere. The Caneliano win streak is over.
Done. Just like over. That. Crazy.
We've been talking about it for weeks, like since they were coming up on the streak. They tied the record. They broke the record. They got up to 76, and we're like, yo, are they going to make it to 100? Like, when is this team going to lose? And then they promptly lose like two matches after setting the all-time record. Kind of a head scratcher, 3-2 to Firenze, who's very middle of the pack. Like of all the teams that we thought Caneliano would lose to, it was not this one. This was very weird. It came totally out of nowhere. And so the funny thing was, I was looking at the stats. There wasn't even anything like that crazy that jumped off the page to me statistically. Like Egonu was pretty good, 34 points, 31 for 64 attempts. Like 64 attempts is a lot. I know that Caneliano didn't play Joanna Volosh, they didn't play Catherine Plummer, they didn't play Robin de Cruyff. So like they have a lot of options that Santarelli's just like trying to move around some pieces, and he thought that they could probably sleepwalk through a middle of the pack Firenze team, but they didn't. They lost 15-12 in the fifth, and the streak is over.
Part of me almost thinks that they're happy that it's over, and
I totally agree with this.
That they're relieved that it's over.
Yeah.
And you know what? I feel like this happens a lot in sports where a team is on a big long streak and it's just a random team that takes them out just because they just don't quite have it that day. Because you bet your bottom dollar that any team going up against Canigliano is coming in to play that match. You know, that they want to win that match. They've been prepping for it all week. They know what to expect. But at some point, some sort of complacency has to get into Canigliano's routine of something. Like I mean, that's why this streak, what was it, 76 games at the end of it, was so impressive, because it's so hard not to just get complacent sometime. You know, where you have one road trip that doesn't go good, and you know you just don't have it that day, right? Like we've seen in every sport, some of the best teams sometimes lose to some of the worst teams. Hell, the Detroit Lions got to win this weekend against a very decent Minnesota Vikings, right? So it's always a possible. So that's why this streak was so incredible with how long it was. But yeah, just a bit of a weird one for Canigliano. But ultimately, I think it's probably for the best for them, because I think they're probably going to get out of this and be like, look, the monkey's off our back now. Like the streak is done. Let's just go on and win all of our championships. And you know what? We'll still be the best team in the world.
Exactly. I completely agree with that. There's just a one thing less that they have to think about now or worry about. It's like an external source of pressure that it just now straight up doesn't exist anymore. They got to the record. They got past the record. They have now set the record at 76 wins in a row. That there's a chance that will never be broken again. That's a completely ridiculous number that they've achieved. And now they just lost a random match, and now it's back to kind of business as usual. They can focus on they can be more goal oriented now in more long-term sense than feeling pressure to continue the streak every single match to go out and play. And I actually commentated their match after the loss. So they lost on Wednesday. They played again on Saturday against a pretty bad Perugia team and just mopped the floor with them 3-0. So and I mentioned it a bunch on the broadcast. It looked like they were, they weren't really bothered by the fact that the streak was over. They were on to bigger and better things, and they have now restarted a new win streak, now having won exactly one match in a row. So, but we did not expect it to end this early. But now that it has, I totally agree. I think they might even be better off now.
Yeah, just a little bit of pressure off the back. You don't have, all of those expectations. There's no decisions on coaching where they're like, hey, we need to keep the streak alive, so we're not going to rest our best players. Like I almost feel like they got to that point, with the Cruyff and Plummer and Voloj all on the bench. Like at a certain point, they're just like, guys, we've got the record. We're in the record books. It's going to take another 2 years at least for someone to get up to this. And I mean, the reality is they probably won't.
Won't.
Like, is this a Wayne Gretzky-esque record that will never be touched again? Who knows? I mean, we'll have to see with volleyball. I mean, these rumors that have been flying around that Fenerbahce is ready to give Agonu a 4-year, $6 million deal, then maybe the next record will go to Fenerbahce. Actually, I kind of want to talk about that. I know that's in our show notes, but these rumors that are out there that Agonu she'll be the highest paid player in volleyball. Men, women, doesn't matter. 4 years, $6 million. That's absolutely massive, especially in women's sports, especially in volleyball. It just kind of shows, there's a lot of talk in North America here about the WNBA, about the NWSL, like the North American Soccer League, or the hockey leagues and stuff like that. But the reality is the biggest women's sport isn't even present here in North America. Right,
That's
see that
100% true.
We see the type of money that teams in Turkey are spending for players. Teams in Italy are spending for players, for female players. How can you not tell me that there's not a market for that, right? And how can you not tell me that, like that's one of my biggest things about the equality in sport amongst men and women, is that I feel like we're putting all of our eggs in a female sports basket, and we're not showcasing the best female sport. The best female sport we know by far is volleyball. We know this by the numbers of youth players playing. We know this by the numbers of what the NCAA puts out, right? So when we're equating women's sport to men's sport, especially on a salary range, let's look at volleyball, because Paolo Agonu is it, right? $4 million, 4 years, $6 million. Sure. If you look at any other North American sport, that's peanuts compared to LeBron, compared to any of these other players. But compared to the WNBA, compared to the NWHL, or
totally. And that's right. And that's straight salary. That has nothing to do with endorsements.
Exactly.
I'm wondering if that would be if that rumored deal is to come true after this season, which it's strictly a rumor for now. But I wonder if that would make her the highest paid female athlete on the planet in terms of just straight up salary, because like I don't know how you would include tennis or golf in that.
Yeah, those are the two difficult ones.
Wealthy women in those sports, but yeah, it's all based on how much you win, and then they all have endorsements like WNBA and WSL, like women's hockey. The endorsements are where they make more of their money, and then like the other sort of Olympic sports. But if you're talking 1.25 million a year in straight up salary for Paula Egonu, that would be absolutely insane. And I think Fenerbahce and many others agree that she's worth every penny of that.
100%, right? I mean, look at what Canigliano's been able to do with her. Look what they were doing. Sure, they were good with her before. They making it all the way to the Champions League finals. They were already winning the Lega Volley Femminile. But now with Egonu, they're the biggest team on the planet, right? Yeah. So it's a no-brainer. Realistically.
So yeah, that's a topic for another show, is tackling the whole professional volleyball idea in the States or in Canada or in North America at large. Both men's and women's, there's a lot going on, but we can save that for probably early next year when a couple of those things come closer to the calendar. But that's we'll talk about VLA just plenty. Yeah. So back to bring us back into what we prepared to talk about on the show, and I like that aside, by the way. The Caneliano streak is over, and now they've started up a new one, and I think everything's fine. I still don't think anybody is, thinking that they're not a title contender in Champions League or Italy anymore. They also have Women's World Club Championships starts a week from tomorrow, so Wednesday the 15th. We'll talk about Men's World Club Championships in a bit. But yeah, I think that's about all we got on this Caneliano run being over.
I will have one last thing to say. I think that if they had lost to a team like Monza or Novara, Busto, that this would be a much bigger story, right?
Great point.
Like if they had lost to one of those teams that is at the top of the league with them and that's competing with them, like Busto just took them to 5. They had a 5-setter against, or they lost the first set against Scandici a few matches ago as well. If they had lost to one of those other teams, it would be a much bigger story. But because they lost to Firenze, a middle of the pack team that is never really going to challenge them at any level, to me, it's kind of a non-topic. Yeah, it sucks the streak is done, but let's be honest, there's no doubting who the best team in women's volleyball is.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad we wrapped it up with that because Firenze isn't a threat. And Conegliano losing this match to them does not signal any kind of changing of the guard or anything like that. They're still elite, and the other really good teams in Italy still haven't been able to touch them. This is just one weird head scratcher win, and it just is what it is.
Yeah, we've got the scoreboard or the chat board saying that AU Pro Sports would consider it a success, and I would disagree with that. But let's move on to the next topic.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when that league comes back in February of next year. There is a ton to dig into about Athletes Unlimited. But so the next topic, back to matches at hand that happened this week. So this is from Men's Champions League last Wednesday. This was the match that maybe I was most excited to watch. Yep. And it was the least exciting match I may have watched all season. This was an absolute beatdown. Lube Civitanova 3-0. Lokomotiv Novosibirsk. It was not even close. 17 aces.
Yeah. A domination. And
17 aces, dude.
A domination. And specifically, there was one player in particular for Lube who really just turned it on. And that was Marlon Yant. I mean, the young Cuban, as much as it pains me to say it, and as much as I know it's just gonna set Ronnie off in the chat board, Marlon Yant is starting to become the player that we've been expecting him to become, right? There's no 2 years away from being 2 years away from this guy. This guy's ready now. And we saw that specifically in this match here.
Yeah, he's awesome. 6 aces is ridiculous. I think he ended the third set on 3 aces in a row, to win the match. It was just dominant. You don't expect these Russian teams to be so unfamiliar with hard serving because that's all they ever see in Russia. That's a huge recipe for winning in that league. So I wouldn't call any of them, any of those teams, the best passing teams in the world. You've got to be able to survive to at least run a little bit of an offense. Not here. This wasn't even close. Gord Perrin, not very good. Sergei Sabin, not very good. Drazen Lubirich, not very good. They just had nothing going on. This was never close. And just the further and more broad point to come out of this is Lube, dude, is so scary. They're so scary. Ivan Zaitsev's coming back. And Osmani Juantorena didn't play. They're so scary.
That was going to be my big point, right? No Zaitsev, no Juantorena, and they're still getting it done. They're still amongst the best of teams. And I mean, I have no idea what's happening to Novosibirsk. They were the hottest team to start the year. They were undefeated in the Russian league. All of a sudden, they fall to Zenit Kazan, and they just come back down to earth. Man, Gord Perrin, my boy, really not looking good. 2 for 15. Yikes. 2 for 15 on the day, only 3 points in total. Just it seemed like Novosibirsk, I don't know, maybe I think maybe at the beginning of the season they did really, really well by not making errors, by putting on a decent amount of pressure and just not making errors. But now it just seemed like they couldn't put any pressure on, right? It looked like there was a club team playing against a professional team out there, and it was hard to watch.
It was. I really did not expect that to be so lopsided. And I mean, these two teams will play each other again because of the way Champions League is formatted. That's in February, and it's in Russia. And I think the plan is that I will be commentating that match the next time we see it. And
okay.
That will be very interesting to see if there can be any type of response. But a significant precedent was set in this match. And you got to remember what pool Lube is in. This was the pool of death that we were all like immediately drawn to when the Champions League draw came out, because Zaxa is in this pool as well. And that's a big start for Lube to not only get a full 3 points, but to just like curb stomp a pretty good team.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's going to set them on a great trajectory, and really just kind of send a message to the rest of the teams in the pool. I'm mostly excited for Lube when Lube and Zaxa go ahead.
For sure, that those matches will be insane. I think early January will be when they play for the first time.
Yeah, it's on the 12th, January 12th. So
right.
Put that one on your calendars, ladies and gentlemen, because that one is going to be a good one.
Spicy. Elsewhere in men's Champions League, the feature match of the week ended up being really, really good. Dinamo Moscow reverse swept Warsaw. It was weird because Moscow didn't play their starters in the first set, and I was confused watching the match. Like, are they like? Do they think that their bench is good enough to beat Warsaw, because Warsaw is really good? So Warsaw like takes the first 2 sets, and then they bring in the big guns. They brought in Denis Bogdan, Sveton Sokolov, and then they really turned it on. Podlesnik really woke up in sets 3 through 5, ended the match on 2 consecutive aces. It was a great match. It really, really good. Like, lived up to the hype. I enjoyed previewing it with my boy Salvador Hidalgo. It was fun on the European Volleyball show last week. Thank you. Yeah, this is a good match, but very important when it comes to Champions League standings. A 5-set win is only worth 2 points, and those tiebreakers for those second place teams are going to get really, really squirrely when it comes to breaking all those ties and like comparing amongst pools, but like teams that won't play one another. It's kind of weird the way they do Champions League, but although a win's a win, 2 points is a heck of a lot less than 3.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, the biggest story for Champions League in the first week for the men was Friedrichshafen falling to Knack-Roslair. And the fact that like Friedrichshafen for so long has been known as really like the pinnacle of German volleyball, and one of those clubs that was consistently in the hunt for the Champions League, right? We'd always see them getting into the next round. We always see them maybe even potentially competing for a medal. But man, this year they have just been nowhere. And I don't know. And we've got people like German people in the Discord who don't know if they're ever going to get back, and we might just see Friedrichshafen fall to be kind of a middle of the pack team and just watch Berlin run away with the Bundesliga year after year from now on.
It is really interesting. I mean, Mark Lebedew coaches that team. That's one of the best minds in volleyball. They have some talent. I know they lost Linus Weber, but like the kid's like 20 years old, for God's sakes. If you lose one really, really young, above average opposite, it can't tank your team. I mean, you've got to be able to keep pace with a team like Ncaa Roeselare. Like that, the Belgian league's just not that good. We thought that Friedrichshafen had a really good chance to make it out of this pool, because like even if they lose twice to Jastrzębski, which is the only other really good team in the pool, if they went 4-2 with like all 3-point wins, they had a really good chance of making it out. And losing this one might tank their Champions League chances in the first week. And I was really surprised by that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so far, I think the Champions League has pretty much started as we expected, maybe other than that one result.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'm excited for the Champions League to get a little spicier. You know, let's get some upsets in there. Let's get it going. Although I'm not entirely sure if that will happen at the highest level.
Yeah, like there's a pretty wide gap between the teams that are really contenders in Champions League and the teams that are in Ronnie's classic thanks for participating tier. Like there are a couple that clearly are just happy to be there. But by the time we get towards like the last couple rounds, it'll get really interesting because there'll be teams fighting for those second place spots. Also, Perugia 3-0 Trentino. That was a beatdown. I was surprised that Trentino wasn't able to really hang around. Perugia was unreal from the service line. What else is new?
Yeah, what else is new? I think that's really maybe showing a true showing of the level of class, not class in terms of like how they treat each other, but you know, on like a soccer terms, like I think Perugia is a world-class team, and I think Trento may have been punching a little above their weight so far this season, especially in that first win against them in the Supercopa. And now they're going to start to come down back to earth. Now, don't get me wrong, compared to all the other teams, I'm sure they're great. You know, I would much rather watch Trento than what I watched earlier in the Club World Championships. We'll get to that in a little bit. I don't know if they compete with Perugia on a player-to-player basis, on a night-to-night basis.
I agree. Like Perugia's got them head to head at setter. I mean, Gianelli coming over, he's Italian. Having him not count against the foreigner limit is huge. You're not competing with Wilfredo Leon, even if you have Micheletto on your team. I think the big thing is Trentino. Trentino's got a middle advantage, I'd say, but that's really about it. And they'd have to run that 3 outside hitter system to perfection and like keep Wilfredo Leon off the service line if they're going to have a chance against Perugia. So they pulled it off once in the Super Cup. It has not happened since like they played in regular season and then Champions League. These two will see each other again, like at least twice more this year, probably more. So we'll see how it goes. But I agree. I think Perugia is in a tier above Trentino right now.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's knock out a couple of other things really quick before we get to some news that came out earlier today. That's really going to set me off here in a second. Men's World Club Championships is going on actually right now. There's a match literally going on right now. It's kind of weird to have real volleyball going on like west of the Atlantic, like in the evening North American time. Sada Crucero is playing Sirjan from Iran right now. I just don't care about this. I can't bring myself to care about this tournament. Like Zaxa pulled out of this tournament. Good for them. I actually asked Eric Shoji about this, like what his thoughts were on Zaxa pulling out of this tournament. He's like, I think this was a really good idea. Their trip itinerary would have been to fly to Germany, fly to Morocco, fly to Brazil, then drive 3 hours to Belo Horizonte, which is insane. And then after that, they would have had to go immediately to Siberia to play Champions League. So that was never going to happen. Zaxa pulled out. Lube replaces them. They're now probably just going to win the tournament by default. Like Sada Crucero is okay. Funvik from Brazil is not good at all. This Argentinian team is really bad. This Iranian team is not really very good. And I didn't watch the stream earlier today. I know you guys in the Discord were like, yeah, this stream is garbage. There's no commentator. There's no scoreboard.
Well, that's exactly it. How do you care about an event the FIVB doesn't even care about? Right?
Exactly.
Like there's no commentator, there's no scoreboard. We've just got random ass teams out there. Seriously, watching what was it, UPCN against Funvik Natal earlier? Swear to God, let's send Trinity Western out there. I guarantee you they win. Right? Like this isn't a good this isn't a good event. It's at a terrible time in the season in a sport that we run our events ragged. We've got 2 teams from Brazil, 2 teams from Italy, one from Argentina, and a team from Iran. How is it a club world championship?
Yeah, what are we talking about?
How does that represent anything other than Lube, Trentino, and Sada Cruzeiro? There's no notable names on any of these teams, right? So, like, what are we even doing out here? Why? This is a perfect example of that. There's just too much volleyball sometimes. There's just too much volleyball. Literally, we are in a situation where less is more in volleyball, and this is one of those events that's just too much, and it's unneeded, unnecessary. It's just going to make the athletes tired. It's just going to mess them up, right? We're not the NBA, we're not the NFL, who are flying private, who get everything taken care of. You heard Eric Shoji's flight plan there. What, from Poland to Germany to Morocco, then to Brazil, then you got to bus 3 hours? No, this is garbage, right? Like, why are we expecting our athletes to be video game characters and have no fatigue, never get injured, right? It's absolute garbage, and it's just another reason why the FIVB is just 3 boomers in a trench coat making random ass decisions that have no basis off of anything in reality.
I'll never get tired of the image of 3 boomers in a trench coat. Yeah, so here's the thing about this tournament. Don't watch it, by the way. Well, maybe watch the finals. You'll see Lube versus Trentino. Trentino will beat Sada Crucero in pools. That match might be okay. Lube will beat Sada Crucero in the semifinals. That match will be okay. Then you'll get some data on what'll happen when Lube and Trentino go back to Italy. Whatever, dude. So this tournament doesn't matter. In my opinion, they one of 2 things, or maybe even both, should happen. This tournament should not be played more than once every other year. There's no way you should be having this tournament every year. So every other year would be okay. I would be okay with every 3 or even every 4 years. Also, you have to expand it. We actually talked about it a couple weeks ago, like when we learned that Zaxa was pulling out. Like, bring it to like Las Vegas, or bring it to Rome, or bring it to Warsaw, or bring it some, or like Tokyo, even like
Yeah,
bring to
let's
some.
bring it to Japan.
Sure.
We're already cater all of FIVB media to a Japanese audience, right? Let's be honest. They were talking more about Ran Takahashi going to Padova, and that there's the three united Japanese players than they were Conigliano's win streak being done, right? So let's bring this event to Tokyo. That would be. I honestly think if you brought this event to Tokyo, you brought this event to somewhere in Japan, it would be massive. It would be so much fun. Hell, I would want to
Dude,
go to that.
yeah,
Like
Japan's good at hosting tournaments, man. They
let's
have
go to an event for that.
Sure. They have the World Cup every year before the Olympics. It's usually a huge tournament because it's usually an Olympic qualifier. And then you just have to expand it. You have to have more teams. You have to have more representation from more places. Get the best team in the V League in there. Get the best team, maybe even the Chinese League in there. Get at least one team from every really good country in Europe. Get Sada Crucera, but don't like reach further than that into South America. None of those teams are good. Get Trinity Western for all I care. Like get
how about this? Hear me out. What if the NCAA had an all-star team that they sent, and U Sports had an all-star team that we sent, right?
I absolutely
because
love that.
We don't have a pro league yet. Sorry, VLA, we're not there quite yet. I'm rooting for you guys though. But let's send something of substance, right? Hell, don't they have pro leagues in Puerto Rico? Why not we send one of those people?
True,
right?
Yeah. There's some decent talent in those Puerto Rican teams. Yeah, if you're gonna do the World Club Championships, you're gonna do it correctly. Throw all the resources behind it. Put it somewhere cool. Put it in a better time in the season. Make it longer and more teams. Build it out into be a bigger and better event. Do it correctly or don't do it at all. And this tournament, the one that's going on right now, they just really shouldn't have done it at all.
Like how many major, like we're in December, how many major volleyball tournaments have we already had this year with all of the leagues last year and Champions League and the Olympics and Nations League and European, all of the continental ones? It's just like there's too much volleyball. There's too much of it, and it needs to stop.
Yeah, the guys and girls, they never get an off season. You got to feel for them in that way. And you just don't play a tournament just for the sake of playing it. Play it if there's a purpose. This tournament has no purpose. However, Women's World Club Championships, like I was saying, kicks off a week from tomorrow. That tournament is better. There are some better teams, and it's in Turkey. I think both Fenerbahce and Vakifbank and Conegliano and a couple others. It's still only 6 teams, which just doesn't make sense, but it's slightly better. So maybe we'll actually have some matches to talk about with that.
I mean, it makes sense if you were to send one team from each continent, right? What is there? 6 teams. There's 6 continents minus Antarctica. One team from each continent. Instead, we've got multiple teams from one country. It's ridiculous.
And then an Argentinian team, which just makes no sense too, Jack. Some of the guys in the chat right now are watching it. Are watching the current World Club Championship match, and they're like, now we have children dancing during the technical timeout. Those are probably the same children that are running the tournament.
No. The boomers in the trench coats are running the tournament. The children are dancing, and we're getting very close to some sort of copyright violation, right?
I love
this. This is exactly why YouTube won't let me monetize.
Oh man! All right. Other news. This came out today. This is kind of an afterthought for some people, but European Golden League is a national team thing that the CEV does in the summer. It kind of replaces VNL, but on a European scale. The cool thing about this tournament is that if you win, you play an FIVB Challenger Cup, which if you win that, you get to play VNL. That hasn't happened the last couple of years because of COVID, but this tournament's actually kind of cool. It's like kind of actually run like a league during the summer with the national teams, like Turkey, Ukraine, and Belgium being the top 3 seeds on the men's side. Those are all 3 pretty good teams. Mm-hmm. And whichever one of them wins will have a very, very good chance to qualify for VNL. So those pools came out today, and I thought it was worth throwing in the show. You don't have to think about it for another 6 months probably, but just put it on your radar because those matches end up being pretty good a lot of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they'll probably walk over whoever comes out of Ncaa, probably Cuba's, you know, like randomly stitched together team of like youngsters that they have. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Ukraine, Belgium, Turkey, all very, very good teams. I actually really like watching Ukraine. They've just got a random a mix of guys that I enjoy watching who are fun to watch. So, apparently top 2 teams will go to Challenger, which does make sense. I did watch the Women's Challenger Cup back in 2019 when Canada won it, and we did beat both Croatia and Czech Republic to get there. So it does make sense that there's two teams from
that's how Canada got to this past VNL on the women's side. So what it actually is, and I was looking this earlier today, it is not 2 teams from this tournament. It's the team that won last year's tournament and the team that wins this year's tournament, because there wasn't a Challenger Cup last year. I can't remember who won last year. Actually, I believe Turkey might have won last year. I don't remember, but so that's how they're doing it. There was no Challenger Cup last year, so last year's Golden League winner and this year's Golden League winner will both play in Challenger Cup next summer. That's what I saw today.
Nice.
So that's about it on that. Everett, is it time?
I think it's time. I think like we've kept it off long enough because today, you know what? I'll just take it from here. You can stew a little bit because today the pools and the host cities for the Volleyball Nations League 2022 were announced. Now, thankfully, it won't be the same marathon that it was last year, all in Rimini, and we're going to be traveling a lot less than what we're used to. And it's only going to be 3 weeks of Nations League. Each pool, each week is going to contain 8 teams. Now, obviously, we don't have enough time for each team to play each other. Otherwise, you'd be playing 2 matches a day, 7 matches a week. It would just be way too much. So the host pools for the men's side, week 1, Brasilia in Brazil, Ottawa, Canada. So if you are watching this right now, if you're a member of the Discord, we are going to be, hands down, we're going to be doing a meetup. Love the fact that they're bringing the men's back to Ottawa. We're going to the Philippines. Interesting. Sofia, Bulgaria, the only European stop for the Nations League. Bit weird. Osaka, Japan, and Kemerovo, Russia on the men's side. Important to note, only one European stop, and more importantly, no USA stop for the men's side. If American fans want to watch the U.S. men play in the U.S. this year, tough titty, it's not going to happen. You can't even come up to Ottawa and watch because they didn't even like they didn't even put the USA in Ottawa. They didn't even put the USA in Ottawa, which always polls really well. That being said, I know you're not excited, but man, am I ever excited. Like, look at the teams that are going to be coming to Ottawa. Yeah, are you going to come hang out? Because like it's going to be a good one.
I'll be there. I'm going to try to get the FIVB to bring me up to commentate that in person. That would be unbelievable. Yeah, the teams are good. So before I really get into why this pissed me off so much, to explain a couple things about the format, because I was just as confused as you all. I'm like, a pool of 8, how on earth are they going to pull that off? So what they're doing is they're having each city host from a Tuesday to a Sunday. That's 6 days of matches. Each of those teams that's there, and there's 8 teams there, each of those teams will play 4 matches in 6 days. So that schedule is pretty reasonable. It's not every day, which would be unreasonable.
Which is normal for the FIVB.
So that is okay. The scheduling part is totally fine with me, Tuesday to Sunday, and then they have a full week and a half before they have to play again, so they get to travel. That the scheduling is okay from that standpoint. Each 8 teams that are in one spot, each team will play 4 matches against 4 of the other teams. So just because you're in a team's pool on a given weekend doesn't mean you're necessarily going to play them. And if some teams are in the same pool multiple times throughout the tournament, and they'll probably only play them once. I don't see anybody playing a team more than once because, there's 16 teams and each of them will only play 12 matches. So there'll be 3 teams that each team won't play against. So that's a little bit weird with how the math works out. What I do like is that the top 8 teams are making the finals this year. So they've reformatted the way they're doing the finals. We don't know where the finals are. They actually just opened the bidding for what cities are going to host the men's and women's finals. If you're holding out hope that the U.S. is going to host that, you're crazy.
Probably not. No,
that will never happen. And I'll get to that in a second. But 8 teams in the finals will be better because before it was 6 teams and they did this stupid pointless pool play thing that nobody cared about. So now they'll just straight up do a single elimination with 8 teams. That'll be better.
I hate the 6-team thing that we do in volleyball.
That was dumb.
The dumbest thing ever.
That's dumb. So we're not doing that in VNL anymore, just an 8-team bracket. That's better. That's the end of the good news, unless you're Canadian. Here, so
that was the men pools. Let's jump into the women's pools real quick here.
All right. This is where it really gets me. Oh man.
All right. First weekend, USA women are in Shreveport, Bossier City, USA. Beats me. I mean, hey, I know in Canada we make a lot of fun for Americans not really knowing Canadian geography, but I'm going to take the L in this one because I have no idea, not even the foggiest idea of where Shreveport, I don't know how you pronounce that, Bossier City, USA. That Then moving on to Ankara, Turkey.
That's a good one.
Back to Brasilia. So 2 weekends in a row in Brasilia. Pasay City in the Philippines. Obviously interesting, the fact that the Philippines is getting 2 Nations League weekends and they don't have a team competing in the event. Week number 3, we are going to Canada. We are going to beautiful Calgary.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. It's gonna be fantastic. The women's national team is going to be playing in Calgary, and then finally the last one is in Ufa, Russia. And actually, you should come up to Calgary as well because the USA will be playing there. And it was funny enough. In 2020, we had planned to have the men play in Calgary and the women play in Ottawa, which was just ridiculous. It was once again like mind blown of why we were doing that. Volleyball Canada had made that choice, considering that the men had played train in Ottawa, our home based in Ottawa, had already played Nations League 2 or 3 years in a row in Ottawa. So the people everyone knew about it. There was some sort of continuity, and then they're like, yeah, we're just going to switch this for no reason. We're just going to switch it up. But instead, they've made the right choice here. The men are going to be back in Ottawa. Their women are going to be in Calgary. There's more Nations League happening.
If you're going to don't even try to go in on your country's volleyball governing body in this case, because they ended up doing the right thing here. Canada got a city to host it for both men's and women's, and I think they picked the right city for both. Good for Canada. USA Volleyball should be ashamed of themselves. This is absolutely embarrassing. First of all, there's no men's pool, no USA men's volleyball at all in the summer in the United States. That's absurd. They've been coming to Chicago for 10 years. I go to those games every single year, and it's literally free attendance. You know that since USA Volleyball is terrible at marketing events, they're just horrible, that they're not going to be able to market to American fans and actually sell any tickets. So they've actually found success with scheduling the right weekends and getting European teams to come in here who have massive populations in Chicago, and they'll sell out every time, dude. I've been to Poland matches against the U.S. in Chicago, and I, as an American fan, have been outnumbered 50-1. Chicago has the second largest Polish population of any city in the world. That's including every city in Poland. Warsaw is the only city in the world that has more Polish people than Chicago. If you bring the men's VNL to Chicago and Poland is there, instant sellouts for every day of the competition. So that's ridiculous. But what's even worse is if the USA Volleyball is going to bother actually hosting a weekend, I would rather them not host anything than take us to Shreveport, Bossier City, Louisiana. This is in the state of Louisiana. I did not know this. I would not blame anybody in the world for not knowing this great American city of Shreveport, Bossier City in Louisiana. I have no idea where this city is. It is known for nothing. I looked into it today. They have one of the highest crime rates in America. Their nearest international airport is Dallas. It's 3 hours away, which apparently is a qualification for being able to host a weekend of this tournament, is having a local international airport, which they don't. I have no idea what's going on here. So this city hosted one of the Olympic qualifying pools in August of 2019 when USA, they played like Kazakhstan and like some really bad teams and got an Olympic berth, no problem. The attendance of the three USA matches at that tournament was about 4,000 people, if that.
Combined?
Per match.
Oh, okay.
So there was one that was like
there for a second.
2 that were just under 4,000, then one was just above 4,000. But that's embarrassing. You should be putting 10,000 people in the stands. That should be the goal for a tournament like this. You have the reigning Olympic gold medalists. The Olympic gold medalists of the United States women's volleyball. They're the best national team on the planet. Clearly the best national team on the planet. They're playing at home. It's the most popular women's and girls sport in the country by far. We're about to talk about the NCAA tournament. It has 64 teams. Like NCAA women's volleyball is a massive deal. Girls volleyball, women's volleyball is a big deal in the United States. And you have the reigning Olympic gold medalists playing at home. And you, USA Volleyball, the organization, this is on you. You're sending them to Shreveport, Bossier City, Louisiana. Get real, dude. What is I don't understand where the money trail of that. That makes no sense. This is clearly money motivated, but who in Shreveport, Bossier City, Louisiana is going to pay USA Volleyball any amount of money to actually make this worth their while? I don't understand this at all. This is an embarrassment for USA Volleyball to put their national team on the world stage in this place. It has no place in this tournament. It is shameful that USA Volleyball has put this foot forward to host the women's there, of all places, and to not host the men's, while the Philippines, who doesn't even have a team in either competition, gets to host both. That makes no sense. The Philippines is not a wealthy country. It's not a money thing here. USA Volleyball just refuses to put their appropriate amount of effort and capitalize on the opportunity to have the national team play at home in a real, like, professional international setting. And they're not going to bother with the men because they don't care about men's volleyball, which is very obvious if you live in the U.S. and try and follow the men's coverage. And they're going to send the reigning Olympic champions of the women's to Shreveport, Bossier City, Louisiana.
You're right. It doesn't make any sense, especially when you have Dallas, places like Dallas that you could host it, maybe Austin, hell, somewhere in L.A., somewhere in California.
Send it to Omaha. The state of Nebraska is obsessed with volleyball. They love University of Nebraska women's volleyball. They pack that arena with 5,000 fans every single match without fail. You could double that easily if you brought the national team there. They did that a couple years ago. They brought a national team scrimmage to Nebraska, and it was awesome. Do that. Go to any Big Ten arena. Go to West Lafayette. Go to Purdue, where I went to school. One of the best volleyball crowds in the nation. What are we doing here? I don't even know where Shreveport, Bossier City, Louisiana is. Nobody knows where that is. Nobody's going to fly to Dallas and drive 3 hours to go watch the national team. It's not worth it. It makes no sense, and I think it's insulting and embarrassing.
You're not wrong, right? Like I think it. I don't even know what to say about that, to be honest. Right? Like, you have so many different options of where to go in the beautiful United States, right? One of the greatest countries in the world, right? And you choose to go to one of the places with the highest crime rate, where, you know what,
3 hours away from the nearest airport. Like, I just don't get it.
But, like, you know what, I don't get it either. But it's completely on brand for volleyball.
It is on brand,
and the people who control volleyball in North America, right? It's they are, and like, I've seen it from having worked at Volleyball Canada. I've worked with USAV before. I've seen the type of people that work behind the scenes, and quite often it's very rarely people who actually care about volleyball, and it's all people who care about sport business, but not the good ones, right? Because they'll all be taken up by, the other sports. It's always like the middle of the pack people. And yeah, like it's just a bad look for the FIVB. It's a bad look for the USAV. It's a bad look for the sport as a whole.
I know for a fact that the FIVB is very, very, very unhappy about having to go back to this location. I know that for a fact. They're certainly won't drop the source or give any detail on that, but this is not a popular decision. And if I get blackballed or canceled or avoided by the USA Volleyball organization, I don't care. I think they probably know who I am at this point. They totally copied the European Volleyball Show and did it worse. They have the USA Volleyball Show, which is a badly hosted podcast. Whatever. I think I might be on USA Volleyball's radar, and if they don't want anything to do with me after this, fine, because this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. You, the USA Volleyball organization, have embarrassed United States Volleyball by doing this for VNL. This is on you. It is up to the national governing bodies to bid the FIVB for cities to host this tournament. This is not an FIVB choice. Like, you can't blame the FIVB for like choosing a random city in America to do this. It's not their fault. This is what USA Volleyball presented to them, and this is what was. And it's embarrassing. It is completely out. The people in Colorado Springs, USA Volleyball, whoever is on that board, whoever is involved in making this decision, burn that organization to the ground and burn that boardroom to the ground, and just put new people in there who, like me, have never heard of Shreveport, Bossier City, Louisiana, and volleyball would be a better place. I just hate. I can't express to you guys, listeners, viewers, how much this annoys me. I've been to so many of these USA men's matches in person. I've traveled to them as I could. They've come to Chicago. They've been largely pretty convenient for me. They've been awesome. They've been electric. They're so much fun. to go to and watch in real life. They're absolutely tremendous. The only way that you are going to actually get a foothold on volleyball in the United States is to somehow pull off great in-person events. That is the only way. The U.S. is the greatest sports country in the world, by far, the greatest sports country in the world, but there's too much going on at the top. The average sports fan does not have the bandwidth to go out of their way to consume volleyball unless they're really, really, really passionate about it. If you want to get anybody other than the extremely passionate fan into volleyball, you need to have great in-person events in the United States to hook the viewers. That's the only way. And they're completely dropping the ball on this with this pitiful effort in VNL. It's embarrassing.
Now, my question on the men's side, do you think no VNL on the men's side is a repercussion for how poorly the 2019 VNL finals were attended in Chicago? Because if you guys remember back to the 2019 VNL finals in Chicago, everyone was talking about, they got the stadium seating, blah, blah, blah. It's all black in the crowd and the lights are only on the court. That was because they didn't have
nobody there.
There was nobody there, and the FIVB didn't want to show how little that event was attended. To me, there's a direct correlation to not being able to get butts in seats for a VNL finals to being able to host a week like this, especially when there's only 3 opportunities. Are you going to give it to the people who just couldn't sell out? Whereas Ottawa has consistently been one of the top attendance places for matches. Like we're getting 4, 5, 6, 7,000 people consistently at these VNL matches.
So that is not an FIVB failure to market that 2019 Chicago finals. It is a USA Volleyball failure.
Again, yes.
That is them once again dropping the ball on that. I was at that tournament. I was there for the finals on Sunday. Our buddy Dan Manili was there. A lot of people in the Discord were there. They made the trip to Chicago for that. And you're absolutely right. It was dark in the crowd because the FIVB was ashamed of how few people were there. Except when Poland was playing, they had the classic Polish crowd. But the Brazilian matches were not well attended. Even the Iranian matches, who usually do really well on American soil, not good at all. And the American matches were the worst of all. It was absolutely embarrassing. And that was USA Volleyball's failure to market that event. There is a massive volleyball community in Chicago. I am a huge part of it. I live here. I play volleyball twice a week. There are hundreds and hundreds of people. That's all they do on the weekends is they want to play volleyball. The failure to market and get those people to get their butts in seats at that arena with the best volleyball on the planet, literally in their backyard, and USA Volleyball was unable to make that happen. I'm not surprised at all that they are not hosting men's again. I just don't understand it philosophically. Even Volleyball Canada, who has so many similar shortcomings, have figured out how to at least do an event, like to beat it to death with consistency in order to put butts in seats in Ottawa. And it's you're right. That's been a good event. Every time I've seen anything hosted in Ottawa, it's been well attended and it's been fun in the arena. It's just so bad. Some of these USA matches, like the only one that I was at that didn't have a great crowd was we hosted VNL with Canada, Japan, and China. And they just didn't get lucky with the pool that they had. Tough for the international crowds in Chicago because you don't have Poland, Serbia, Bulgaria, some of the ones that are guaranteed to pack the house for you. When players were going, I was there. I went to all 3 matches that the USA played. When players were going back to serve in that gym, it was dead silent, like literally dead silent. It was like a tennis match. It was embarrassing. It was completely embarrassing the way that supposed USA Volleyball in-person fans attended and behaved and received that level of volleyball. It was criminal. It was so sad, and I'm not surprised that the FIVB, I don't know if USA Volleyball isn't bothering to bid on it because they're not confident they can do any better. But even if they did, I don't blame the FIVB for saying, forget it. You can't throw a good event.
Now, I think this also leads into a bigger question. Why do we have a VNL? Realistically, and I've talked about this before, but no other sport has a yearly competition like this. It's not in basketball. It's not in hockey. It's not in soccer. Any of the major international team sports, they don't have a national or a yearly competition like this, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter for the Olympics. It doesn't matter for the World Championships. It matters for world ranking, but I mean, only for those top teams. Like, why do we continuously have this? Like, if we look at the travel schedule for this event, it's pretty gnarly, right? Like, you have to.
Yeah, it's significant,
right? Like if I take the Canadian team, for example, we're going to be the USA in 1 week, travel to the Philippines for another week, and then we're back in Calgary. We're literally going around the world, and once again, no private jets. That like all of these players are going to be in economy. All these players are going to be eating shitty airport food, and right, it, it's just battled around. The VNL is a worthless competition. I swear to God, you get rid of the VNL, we let our athletes rest up a little bit. More emphasis is put on the World Championships, which, by the way, next year is a World Championship year. More emphasis is put on the club season, right? Let's get rid of the Nations League. It's useless. All it does is drain. Like I can guarantee, even though Ottawa and Calgary are both probably going to be well attended, Volleyball Canada is still going to lose money on these weekends, right?
I guarantee that's true.
And a lot of the part of that is because of the fees that they have to pay to the FIVB, how much money they have to give to FIVB delegates who come in and do absolutely jack shit throughout the entirety of the week, right? So let's just get rid of the VNL. Let's let our players relax and rest and sleep for once, see their family. And then let's put the emphasis on the bigger events like the World Championships, like the Olympics, and like the Continental Championships.
So there's a lot of that I agree with. I don't agree with abolishing the VNL completely. I agree with, so Ronnie brought it up in the chat. It's because international volleyball is what people want to see. And I agree. I care more about watching the national teams than I care about the club season. It's just what I was exposed to first. And I have a team that I can actually root for. So that certainly helps. But they've got to do something about this. They've got to make it matter for some reason more than just world ranking points. There's got to be berths in some other tournaments on the line, maybe an Olympic bid, maybe a world championships bye to the second. I don't know. I don't know how you can make this tournament matter more. If you're going to play it, you've just got to figure out how to do it better. And that's worldwide. I'm not just roasting USA Volleyball anymore, even though they should still be embarrassed of themselves, not letting them off the hook. If anyone, by the way, is wondering why there's 2 pools in Russia, even like a pool on each side in Russia, even though the World Championships are there next year, it's probably basically a trial run for those World Championships. They're going to put a similar-ish formatted event in Russia to gauge the level of engagement and attendance and just kind of see how it goes before the whole world descends on Russia later in the year. I don't disagree with that.
People in Russia care about volleyball.
They do,
right? Russia's like you watch the Russian Super League and you watch their streams, and they might have the best in-game production of anyone. Right, even more so than the Italian league.
I agree. I think the in-arena, in-person experience is the best in Russia of any domestic league in the world.
100%, right? So I'm all for bringing matches to Russia. And hell, even though we were hating on the Philippines, have you ever seen those clips on you?
Awesome fans,
tremendous fans. We've seen clips of U11 matches being sold out with thousands of fans. Think more people for U11 matches in the Philippines than they do for than we do here, right?
Yeah, I'm really upset that the USA men are not going to go to the Philippines because they'd be treated more like superstars there than they would in their own home country, and that's an absolute guarantee. The women's, I think the USA women do get to go to the Philippines. Yes, they do.
Yeah, there's with us as well.
Filipino fans root for American national teams for some reason. A lot of them really gravitated towards the USA women this summer because they won Olympic gold. Those events will be tremendous. Again, that is not a wealthy country. The purposes of those events is not to make money for anybody. They're going to put a ton of butts in seats. They're going to have fantastic crowds, and the players are going to get to play in an atmosphere they actually deserve for those weekends in the Philippines. So I like that. I know it's confusing because they don't actually have teams in the events, but I know for a fact the atmospheres that they're going to have, both men's and women's, when they host them in the Philippines, will probably be the best in the tournament, except for maybe the Turkish women. They're insane for Turkey on the women's side.
That'll be fun.
Dude, I just don't know. I don't know what more what else there is that we can possibly do in the US to fix this problem. It's like it's like a plane about to crash and there's nothing you can do to fix it. It's embarrassing that the USA Volleyball organization is putting this foot forward, and though the rest of the world is looking at the pool releases today and they've probably heard of 3 or 4 American cities, and even 95% of Americans have never heard of Shreveport, Bossier City. What are we doing here?
Yeah. I think for me is that there's 2 sides of it. First of all, I'm very happy that there's that much volleyball going to be happening in Canada this year. Calgary is going to be great. We actually just announced Ben Saxon, former beach player, just announced that the Calgary Open, where we're going to be hosting, It's not an FIVB event, but another actual real volleyball tournament. So Calgary is going to be a great place for volleyball this year. It's just there's two sides of it to me for in Canada. First of all, very happy that we are getting 2 weekends, but it's also frustrating because I know that so much more could have been done, right? And so much more could be done. And it's just like if we had done that, if we had taken the steps to properly promote our teams and to properly market these events, how much better could they be? So I mean, I'm hoping that maybe some things have changed at Volleyball Canada and that we're probably going to promote these events, but I'm also slightly worried.
Yeah, it's a good sign that the federation and then just in general you are having top level events in the borders of like in Canadian borders. Ottawa's a great one. Calgary is a good one. If they could bring one to Toronto, I know it would be expensive, but that would be even better. Maybe that's down the road. But just the fact that they're hosting real events in Canada is huge. I would legitimately rather the USA Volleyball not host at all than host in Shreveport, Bossier City. And I'm not kidding about that. I will definitely try and come to Ottawa for VNL. I would much rather go to Calgary for VNL than I would go to Shreveport, Bossier City. I'd rather go to the Philippines. I'd rather go to Brazil. I've literally Shreveport, Bossier City, Louisiana is dead last on my list of places in this VNL hosting list that I would want to go. And I live in the United States. It's really, really sad.
You know, I mean, what we could do is make a fun little trip of it. We'll go to Calgary. What is it, the 28th, the July 23rd, spend a couple days in Calgary, maybe we go to Banff and then go back to Calgary. July 8th to 17th is the greatest show on the earth, the Calgary Stampede. Have you ever been to the Stampede? Have you ever heard of the Stampede?
Never heard of this.
The Calgary Stampede is like the biggest. It's a big cowboy show. So and it's absolutely massive. It's a big party. You've got, you know, like the bull riding and the bull wrangling and the chuck wagon races, and it's the biggest like outdoor show for cowboys in all of North America. And it's a great party. So I think maybe you should come down. Well, we'll go to the matches. I'll take you to the mountains afterwards. We'll go hang out in the Rockies for a little bit.
I'd much rather do that than go to Shreveport, Bossier City. Dude, speaking of great outdoor party weekends that happen to be volleyball themed, Wapaka boat ride is a thing that's 2 hours from Chicago in the middle of the summer.
When is that this year?
It's the second weekend of July. Put it on your calendars. It's the same weekend every single year.
Okay, so then it'll be the same weekend as the finals here. Okay, maybe not the finals, but yeah, hell yeah! Like sign me up. Let's go do the Wapaka boat ride.
Yeah, boat ride's right before the women's VNL finals. It's like 2 weeks before the men's. They could put the national team in Milwaukee and they would sell it out if they put it right. If they put something VNL in Milwaukee right around the time of boat ride, they would sell it out because the whole volleyball world in the U.S. is already in Wisconsin anyway.
But it's tough though, right? Because like the boat ride's going to be going on during the weekend. Right. And then the event's going on during the weekend. And if you're going to decide between going to watch volleyball and play volleyball, like I remember there was
it's a Tuesday to Sunday event. These are 6 days of volleyball going on. You like go to Wapaka and play on Saturday, come back for Sunday for the finals. That's what I did when it was in Chicago in 2019. I literally came back from Wapaka the morning of and went immediately to the gym to go to the VNL finals. Anybody in the Midwest could have done that, but they didn't. Like nobody even knew it was happening. That was the embarrassing.
This is do you know how many volleyball events I've been to, and people from the area will be like, no one knows this is happening. No one knows this is going down. And then you talk to the organizers like, well, we sent out an email blast. Literally, there was one time I remember we were hosting World League qualifiers in 2013, and Volleyball Canada was getting me to call like the Slovakian embassy because we were playing Slovakia. And that's how we were going to promote the event. And I was like, we're not even promoting to the local clubs. We're not even promoting to the local leagues. And you want me to call the Slovakian embassy? This was also the same summer where we were hosting an event, a Pan Am Cup, and there was a traffic jam out in front, and they had me go out with flyers and give out flyers in the traffic jam. Like literally, these are things that I have done to get people in volleyball matches. And like I have no idea what goes on inside some of these event organizers' heads in volleyball. It's like they've never organized an event before and they have no idea that marketing and communications are a real thing.
It's really ridiculous. Blair Lambert in the chat, who's very well connected. Blair, what's up, dude? He says, I talked to somebody formerly of USA Volleyball. It's very difficult to find cities and venues in the summer that meet requirements with less than a year in advance of prepared time. I believe that. That totally makes sense. So don't do it at all. Don't send the national team to Shreveport, Bossier City. Just don't do it. There's literally no point.
None whatsoever. All right, I think we need to move on from this. Is there anything else of substance that you have to mention?
There is. Speaking of things that are going on in the United States, oh man, NCAA women's volleyball tournament is significantly underway. First two rounds are done. Couple interesting matches, couple near upsets, couple actual upsets. Kansas is in the Sweet 16. That was very surprising. Illinois beat the reigning champs in Kentucky. That was very surprising. My beloved Purdue Boilermakers almost lost, but reverse swept Dayton at home. That was cool. Sweet 16 is this week, so you've got you can see the schedule there on the screen. So Sweet 16 matches are Thursday for the most part. Elite 8 matches are Saturday, and the finals are the following week. Everett, do you have enough intel to pick a Final Four out of these four regions?
Absolutely not. But I'm just going to jump on the Purdue
Do it anyway.
bandwagon.
Yeah, let's go.
Because you like Purdue. I mean, always been a fan of Minnesota. Is Hugh McCutcheon still there?
Sure is.
Okay, of course. You gotta love me some Hugh McCutcheon. What I'm trying to do here is see if there's any Canadians on these teams, and I really don't think there is.
Isn't there a Canadian girl in Wisconsin? I thought.
Oh yeah, there actually was Anna Schreck. She's going to be something else. Let me tell you. I think she's been holding it down on the right side over there.
So they've got there's the top seeded team all made it to this point, like in each region has all made it to this point, and they're all hosting. So significant home field advantage for the best teams in each region. Louisville's hosting; they're going to win theirs pretty easily. I think Texas will win theirs pretty easily, unless Nebraska knocks them off. Wisconsin, Baylor, Minnesota, UCLA is probably the best four teams in one region.
Yeah, that's a gnarly region right there.
Legitimately, unbiasedly, I think the team that is most like the top seeded team that I think is most likely to lose is Pitt. And I think they'll beat Kansas, and I think they could lose to either BYU or Purdue, whoever makes it out of there. I think it'll be Purdue. I'm going to pick Purdue in the Final Four. Not that I have any insider connections to that program or anything.
Yeah, no, none at all. Will you be watching that match? That's at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Are you going to take the day off work? Are you going to work from home that day, or are you going to?
I'll make it work on Thursday. I just hope that they dispatch of the BYU Fighting Mormons, and then they get to play a regional final on Saturday. It might as well be, and then I can watch the Pittsburgh match, the regional final match on Saturday. I will definitely set my calendar for. So these are like decently accessible now that we're getting later on in the tournament. I think these are a little bit more accessible outside of the United States than they were before. I still don't totally know. So hit us up in the Discord if you are looking to watch these matches later in the week, and we'll see if we can find you some live stream links.
Could someone in the Discord please let me know how to watch these in Canada? Because I've always prided myself in being able to find live streams and get those to the people. But for some reason, the NCAA has always been, my Achilles heel, my kryptonite, if you will, of trying to find the streams. And I'd love to watch it. As I said before, I honestly think NCAA women's volleyball is the best product we have in volleyball, bar none. You
said it last week, and I agree with you.
The speed of the game, and this. I think it has a lot to do with the rules that they have in terms of like the substitutions and all of that. And I mean, that could be. I could get into this conversation a lot deeper if you want to. But the speed of the game, the level of production that they have, the commentators that they have on the streams. I love watching NCAA volleyball. Even when I know nothing about the players who are out there, I just think that they do such a good job. The atmosphere is fantastic. So if there's anyone in the Discord, even if you're not in the Discord, just let me know. Let me know. I'd love to watch along. Last year I watched along with Holland, the Holland Hurricanes, Halton Hurricanes, sorry, which is a club not too far from Toronto that was broadcasting it, let's say. I may have divulged too much already. I apologize, Peter. Okay. But yeah, I'd love to be able to watch it.
Yeah, the Discord is where you can go for the sharing of all sorts of live stream links. I'm excited about it. I agree. It's produced extremely well. I don't know if I would call it the best product we have in the sport, because I think the level of play isn't exceptionally high. But I think the production value is exceptionally high, and it is doing volleyball on television in America the way that I believe it should be done. It's done literally only once a year for this tournament only. So check it out. So you got that to watch. Other matches this week, there's actually really not that much going on. Don't bother watching Club World Championships. We already talked about that. Until the finals. Tomorrow in Italy, Perugia versus Piacenza is going to be interesting. That's tomorrow, Wednesday the 8th. Listen to Perugia's upcoming schedule. They have Piacenza tomorrow. They have Monza over the weekend. They have Champions League next week. Fortunately for them, they play Ncaa, who is terrible, and they'll beat them easily. But then they have Lubeci Nova. So their next 3 matches in Italy are all against like top 5 or 6 teams. So check that one out tomorrow, or check out Verona versus Padova. I will be on the call for that one tomorrow.
Ooh, that one should be a good, a pretty decent one.
Yeah.
One thing to notice, you were talking about Perugia's schedule. Piacenza, I think, has been a team that has been started really strong and maybe disappointing me so far. But looking at the top scores right now in the Superlega, you've got Grozier, who's leading the Superlega right now with 193 votes, and Desvranok, who is in 4th with 171. Both of them averaging over 4 points a set. Grozier closer to 5. Like I feel like this Monza team is maybe punching above their weight, and Grozier's had kind of a resurgence so far.
Grozier's been awesome. I did a Monza match. They were really fun to watch. And I'm glad you brought up Zavaronok because I don't think enough people know about this kid. He's like
low key, like one of the
like 22.
Low key an all-star this year so far.
He's so good, dude. He's like 204, so he's about 6'8", 6'9". He's got great size. He's young.
He plays like a shorter guy.
He does.
That's one of the things that I like. The fact that I didn't know his height, but watching him play, he plays like a shorter guy. Like the way that he's able to cut the ball, like especially like his line shot, like his crossbody line shot, is unparalleled. It's one of the best. One of the best in the world.
I agree. He's got the blind crossbody line shot, and he can hit 4-4 and make it look really, really easy. He's sick out of the pipe, and he's sick at serving. So, if you haven't watched Monza, you should. They're fun. They run a lot of middle offense through the middle. To Galassi is really good. They have this young Bulgarian middle. Grozdanov is really good. Monza's cool, and Monza Perugia will be quite the test. So that's coming up. Also in Poland, there's a pretty good one this weekend. It's actually on Friday. Friday afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, Zaksa Kędzierzyn-Koźle versus Olsztyn. I think that's kind of a decent battle with like TJ DeFalco, Taylor Averill, Maisam Salehi, Carol Butrin, like those guys taking on the undefeated Zaksa. That should be pretty fun to watch. So that might be on Polsat, and we might be able to find a stream for you in the Discord for that one. So hit us up there.
Yeah, another good one. I'll probably have to miss that one due to work, but hey, you should definitely watch it. Actually, tomorrow, Perugia versus Piacenza. That one's at noon. Great. Perfect time.
Yeah. Yep. So the standard Italy volleyball, check all the volleyballworld.tv where you can watch all the Italian matches tomorrow over the weekend. I think they're not playing a week from tomorrow, not next Wednesday, but you got Champions League tomorrow. There's some decent women's matches, not much. Dinamo Moscow versus THY Istanbul will be featured tomorrow. So if you are Canadian, check out Kira Van Rijk. If you're American, check out Carlini, Tori Dixon, etc. So that'll be fun. I think that might be about it for the week. After I'm excited to clip out the clip about VNL and see how far it reaches along the internet. We'll see how I do with that one.
Might have to chop it down a little bit, but it's interesting. I mean, I think it's just. I think I saw last week that the FIVB had like a summit about like media and social media, and they're like, there's great potential in volleyball. And it's just like, yeah, there's always been, and you guys are just ruining it.
Yeah, there was just so many things in the volleyball world that came out today and just annoyed me. The VNL thing came out and really annoyed me. World Club Championships even existing annoys me. Seeing like YouTube thumbnails of Wilfredo Leon Photoshop 25 feet in the air and the titles. This is why Wilfredo Leon is the undisputed king of volleyball, or volleyball players that defy gravity, or whatever the stupid YouTube titles are. Dude, just everything was making me mad today, so I'm glad we have the show where I can come in and rant about VNL. Yikes.
So am I. Well, I think that's about it. Let me check the show notes here. I think that's the end of it. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in to the 9x9. As always, if you want to get the shirt that Rob is wearing right now,
yes, sir, Spicy Volleyball
merch that is going to be on thatvolleyball.store. There is no longer a Black Friday deal, but maybe we'll throw up a Christmas deal up there. Maybe we'll throw it out. So but
Boxing Day deal for Canada, eh?
Oh yeah, do you guys not have Boxing Day?
We don't really do Boxing Day, but I'm learning as I'm commentating these Italian games that Italy always packs like the maximum possible number of matches onto Boxing Day. I think there will be 13 matches being played that day, so that'll be fun.
I'll be watching
all 6 men's and all 7 possible women's matches. I think they're all just packing them in on the 26th.
Well, that's great because I'm going to spend Boxing Day watching volleyball from sunny Arizona.
Ah, beauty! Yeah, lucky you, dude.
I'll be in your country. Although,
Yeah.
funnily enough, I'll be in country, but we are closer in proximity right now than if I was to be in Arizona. But yeah, go over to that volleyball store, get your spicy volleyball merch, get your 9x9 volleyball merch. I'm a little upset because I ordered my own stuff before Rob did, and mine still hasn't gotten here. So I need to check in on my merchandise. But
Yeah, the 9x9 shirt is sweet. I love it. I'll wear it on the show next week.
awesome. Well, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. We will be back next week, same time, same place, Tuesdays at 7:30 for the 9x9. My name is Everett DeLorme.
I'm Rob St. Clair. Follow us both on Instagram. We're both on the screen. I'm sure you're already following at Volleyball Source. Why wouldn't you be? But follow me on Instagram as well, and DM me if you share my opinions about USA Volleyball being embarrassing.
Or if you don't,
if you don't,
if you think otherwise, tell us why. Tell
and
us why we're
especially
wrong.
if you have more insight, if there's like an actual justification for this, and you have insider information, please message me. I'd be very curious to hear about anyone who knows more about this than I do.
Awesome. Well, peace, guys. Have a great week.
See you next week, boys and girls.